Emma was 20 when she said the sentence that finally broke me. Relax. It's not abuse if you're used to it. She said it like it was clever, like it was funny, like the years I'd spent breaking my back to fund her life could be boiled down to a punchline. We were standing in the hall of her dorm in Madison. 5th floor, corner unit. Her roommate had already ducked back inside, earbuds in, oblivious to the moment that was about to mark the end of who I thought I was. I had driven 6 hours to bring her a box of winter clothes she'd left in the garage. I even tucked in a jar of her favorite chili, still warm, because I knew how much she missed it during exam season. On the drive up, I thought maybe this time she'll say thank you without me prompting it. Maybe she'll notice the effort. But when I knocked on her door, she opened it distractedly. She was already mid-text, one finger still tapping the screen. No smile, no hug, just, "Oh, I forgot you were coming today." She took the box without offering to help carry it, then turned and disappeared into her room. I stood there, feeling stupid, the kind of stupid that builds over years, not minutes. That hallway had the same fake wood paneling as every other dorm I've ever walked through. Everything smelled like detergent and microwave noodles. Students passed me, laughing, carefree. And there I was, holding my coat like a briefcase, watching the door she just vanished behind. So I said it, quietly. "Hey, just so you know, I'm covering all this. Housing, food, phone, car. Just don't forget that, okay?" She didn't even look up, just waved me off and laughed. Relax. It's not abuse if you're used to it. That was it. The sentence. She didn't know it, but everything shifted in me in that moment. It wasn't the first time I'd been treated like a joke, but it was the first time she laughed while doing it. I left without another word. I didn't even say goodbye. She didn't notice. I used to think fatherhood was about presence. Being there, not running away when things got hard. When Claire and I divorced, I told myself I wouldn't vanish like so many others do. Emma was 12. Old enough to understand pain, but not old enough to make sense of it. I sat her down and told her, "I'm not going anywhere. I'm still your dad." She cried into my shirt and nodded. For weeks after, she called me every night. But things changed fast. Claire made sure of it. She never said it outright, but her tone twisted everything. "You're not her real dad." That was the silent refrain, always just beneath the surface. Visitation became negotiation. Birthdays became battlegrounds. Every Christmas was a question of who deserved more time with her. I paid for everything without hesitation, because I believed I was still building something, a bridge between broken pieces. And because no matter what Claire whispered in the shadows, I knew what Emma had said when I moved out, "I still need you." I clung to that, like a fool. Over time, money replaced presence. It was all I had left that couldn't be twisted. I wrote the checks because showing up in person only seemed to annoy everyone. I bought her textbooks, laptops, clothes, anything to make the path smoother. If I couldn't be there every day, I'd at least make sure she never felt the sting of struggle. But then the little things started. Emma stopped answering texts, then phone calls. I'd get a single thumbs-up emoji instead of a real response. I'd offer help and be met with, "I've got it." Then the next day, a request for another deposit. And whenever I tried to set limits, that's when the guilt game started. "I just didn't think you'd be this controlling. You're making me feel like a burden. Why do you always make everything about money?" Every time she said that, I wanted to scream, because she made it about money. I had offered love and she took dollars instead. And now I wasn't even allowed to mention them. I started keeping spreadsheets, quietly, just for myself. I tracked every transfer, every favor. It wasn't about resentment, not yet. It was about trying to make sense of why I felt so empty after every phone call. By the time she hit 20, Emma treated support like a subscription. One she didn't have to think about until it stopped working. Any glitch in the system, a delayed deposit, a missed refill, turned into a drama. And Claire? She said nothing, never stepped in, never helped, just shrugged and said, "That's what parenting is. No, that's what draining is." I wish I could say that day in Madison came out of nowhere, that her words shocked me, but the truth is they didn't. They confirmed what I had been trying not to believe. Emma didn't just stop seeing me as a father. She saw me as something worse, something transactional. I was the man who showed up, the man who paid, the man who didn't say no. And over time, that became the only version of me she recognized. Love had nothing to do with it anymore. Not really. That day in the hallway, with my coat in one hand and her laughter echoing behind the door, something in me went still. Not angry, not even sad. Just still. Like a machine shutting down after too many years of overheating. I drove home in silence. No music. Just the hum of the highway and the occasional gust of wind rattling the windows. I didn't think about what to say next. I didn't plan anything. I just let the silence settle over me, thick and cold. That night, I sat in the garage with the lights off, staring at the passenger seat where the jar of chili had been. She never even opened it. I thought about the nights I stayed up transferring money between accounts to make tuition work. About the birthdays spent on FaceTime because she was too busy. About the time I offered to visit and she told me, "It's not really necessary." And I thought, she doesn't hate me. She just doesn't see me. Not as a person. Not as a father. Just as a faucet. Turn it and money comes out. That was the breaking point. Not the sentence itself. Not the smirk. Not even the years of silence. It was the realization that she thought this was normal. That my exhaustion, my sacrifice, my slow emotional collapse was routine. That being used wasn't tragic. It was expected. Not abuse if you're used to it. And God help me, I had gotten used to it. It wasn't the sentence that undid me. It was what came next. A week after the hallway incident, I sat in my office, going over her expenses. I kept everything. Bank statements, transfer receipts, screenshots of Venmo requests, emails from Claire about just one more month. My folders were precise, obsessive. A monument to the version of fatherhood I had built from raw guilt and overtime pay. I wasn't looking for anything that day. Just reviewing, keeping track, pretending that order still meant control. And then I saw it, a group chat. It was buried in an email thread she'd accidentally copied me into. Some school admin thing. She'd forwarded a housing request and must not have noticed I was CC'd on the chain. At the bottom was a forwarded conversation between her and two friends. I almost deleted it, but something made me scroll. There, in plain text, was my daughter. "He's basically a bank with feelings. All I have to do is call crying and it's covered." One of her friends replied with a laughing emoji. Another wrote, "LMAO, teach me your ways," face with tears of joy. Then Emma again. "Seriously, he thinks he's being a good dad." It's sad. Like, he thinks the money makes up for everything. That was the moment. The moment everything cracked. I didn't feel rage. I felt exposed. Like a wound that had been hidden for years was suddenly out in the open air. She didn't see me as a father. She saw me as leverage. A resource. A weakness to be exploited. She knew exactly how to pull the right string. Knew that I'd never say no if she made it about pressure, about how hard things were. And I had believed every performance. The stress, the tears, the emergencies that never ended. I told myself I was keeping her afloat, that I was buying her future. But she wasn't drowning. She was surfing on me. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat on the edge of the bed, the house quiet, the world still. I opened the group chat again, reread it word for word. A bank with feelings. Not a father. Not a man. Just a system. Predictable. Reliable. Weak. And when I finally confronted her, when I called and said, "Do you really talk about me like that?" she didn't deny it. Didn't apologize. She said, "Well, what did you expect? You've always let me." That's when the second wound opened. The deeper one. Because she was right. I had always let her. I had taught her, through every indulgence, that love meant funding. That guilt was currency. That fatherhood was measured not in presence or principle, but in how quickly the transfer cleared. And now she was fluent in the language I had taught her. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I said one thing, That hurt to read. She sighed, bored. Dad, you're making this into a thing. It's not like I don't appreciate it. I don't know. It's just how people talk. Don't take it so personally. That was her defense. Don't take it so personally. As if decades of sacrifice could be compartmentalized. As if funding her entire adult life was a hobby I'd picked up. As if I was overreacting for being wounded. There's a special kind of cruelty in casual dismissal. It doesn't strike with a blade, it erodes. And I had been eroding for years. That phone call ended with her hanging up mid-sentence. I sat there, still holding the phone to my ear, listening to the dead line. Then I opened my laptop and started looking up lawyers. Not for revenge. Not even for punishment. I needed structure, boundaries, legal distance between me and the girl I had once promised I'd never leave behind. I hired a family attorney that same week. I told her everything. Not in anger, but with a quiet exhaustion that alarmed even her. She asked me what I wanted. I said, I want to stop being someone's lifeline if all it gets me is contempt. She nodded, and we got to work. You can love someone deeply, fully, but if they learn to treat your love like a tap, turn it on, turn it off, take what they need and walk away, eventually you have to install a lock. The first lock was her housing. Her dorm was under my name, I was the financial guarantor. If anything happened, the university would come to me. That meant I had power. I had never used it, but now I would. My attorney sent a formal notice to the university. Effective immediately, I was no longer financially responsible for Emma's housing. Any leases signed beyond the current term would not be renewed. All keys under my name were to be deactivated. And all future correspondence would go through legal representation. It wasn't dramatic. It was clinical. I didn't tell Emma. I let the paperwork speak. I stopped all automatic payments within the week. The tuition account? Frozen. Meal plan? Disabled. Gas card? Cut off. Phone plan? Removed from my carrier. Netflix, Spotify, Apple Music, all the little luxuries that had quietly billed through me for years, gone. Each cancellation felt like a stitch being pulled. A thread unraveling a sweater I had spent 2 decades knitting. Claire called, of course. She always calls when the machine stops working. Michael, what the hell are you doing? She just texted me in a panic. You can't just leave her like this. I didn't argue. I said, she'll figure it out. She's your daughter. No, I said. She's my dependent. Or she was. Now she's independent. Just like she wanted. Claire cursed at me, cried, said I was punishing Emma for just being young. But Emma wasn't young anymore. She was 20. Old enough to manipulate. Old enough to strategize. Old enough to build a plan where I was the fool at the center. She had made choices. Now she would meet consequences. The fallout came fast. Emma called 2 days later, not with an apology, not with understanding. She screamed, accused me of abandoning her. She said, this is financial abuse, you know that? You're literally punishing me with money. The irony almost made me laugh. Punishing her with money, as if money hadn't been the leash around my neck for years. I said one sentence, calm and cold. I'm done participating in situations where I'm disrespected. She hung up again. Claire texted a flurry of messages. So did 2 of Emma's aunts. All of them saying versions of the same thing. She's just a kid. You're being too harsh. You should have handled this privately. But here's the thing. I did handle it privately. For years, I carried the weight in silence. I funded, forgave, and rationalized everything. Until the silence turned to rot. Until the child became an adult. Until I became the villain for asking to be treated like a person. That night, I lay in bed and thought about every Christmas I had spent watching her open gifts I couldn't afford. Every birthday where I sent money instead of time. Every single moment I let Claire minimize me because I thought it would protect Emma. And I thought, did I do this to myself? Was it really abuse if I built the system? Was I the architect of my own erasure? But then I remembered the line. He's a bank with feelings. That wasn't a cry for help. That wasn't the voice of a lost girl. That was pride. Strategy. Proof that she had learned not just how to use me, but how to mock me for letting her. That's when I knew. I hadn't raised a child. I had raised a collector. There's a point where love becomes servitude, where generosity becomes guilt, where fatherhood becomes an open invoice. I had reached that point. No more payments. No more apologies. No more pretending this was what family looked like. The first thing I took back was the key. Not a metaphor. Not some symbolic moment. A literal key, the spare one I had made for her dorm suite. The lease was in my name. I'd signed every page, covered every deposit, absorbed every penalty fee. She was the tenant in theory. I was the guarantor in reality. So when the lawyer drafted the termination notice and sent it to university housing, that key became a weapon. Not one I wielded with pride, one I handed back to the system she used to game me. I reclaimed it. The email I received in reply from the housing director was dry, corporate. It acknowledged the withdrawal of financial support, confirmed I would no longer be held liable for unpaid rent, stated that the lease would not be renewed, that Emma would be notified. I stared at that email for a long time. There was no fanfare, no drama, no validation, just confirmation. The umbilical cord was cut. Emma didn't call at first. She posted. Screenshots started circulating among extended family. A vague black and white Instagram story with some tear-streaked song playing over the caption. Some people show their love by disappearing. I guess that's what I get for expecting loyalty from a broken man. I didn't respond. I let it hang there. Claire messaged within the hour. She's humiliated. The RA had to tell her about the lease. You blindsided her. No, I didn't blindside her. I warned her the night she laughed in my face. I said it with my silence. With the stillness she mistook for patience. She chose not to hear it. Now she would feel it. Over the next week, the cards started failing. The student debit frozen. The backup credit line canceled. The gas stipend I'd been sending on Fridays for her car removed from the schedule. No warning, just absence. Like a tree learning what winter feels like. Her texts came in slow waves. Dad? My card didn't go through at the store. Is there something wrong? No reply. I tried to get gas. Are you changing banks or something? Still nothing. Then the mask slipped. This is cruel. You're ruining my life over one stupid comment? I read every message. Deleted each one. She wasn't confused. She was testing. She wanted to see if the game still worked. If the guilt could still be pulled like a lever. If I would come rushing back the moment she turned up the pressure. But I had changed the rules. There was no more lever. Claire called again. This time angrier. She can't pay her car insurance. They're threatening to cancel it. Do you want her driving uninsured? I want her to make adult decisions, I said. This isn't parenting. It's punishment. She's 20. If she wants autonomy, she can have the full version. You're abandoning her. No, I said. I'm letting her experience the cost of independence. She's always had the benefits. Now she gets the bill. Claire said nothing for a long time. Then she whispered, I didn't think you were capable of this. Neither did I. Emma's real panic started when her phone went dead. I had her line under my carrier. Had paid it for 8 years. Since middle school, when she first got her rose gold iPhone and swore she'd never drop it. I covered upgrades, screen repairs, lost chargers, even the overpriced data add-ons when she accidentally went over. That phone had never been disconnected. Not once. Until now. The look on her face must have been pure confusion. Screen going black during a scroll, or a call dropped mid-sentence. Maybe a text unsent. A moment where control vanished and she realized. The power wasn't in her hands. It never was. She called me from a friend's phone. Voicemail. She emailed. Subject line. Need to talk. Urgent. I didn't reply, because I had said everything already. I had said it through silence, withdrawal and restraint. Through dignity. Through limits she never thought I'd impose. Then came the escalation. The online posts turned nasty. One tweet said, abusers don't always scream. Some just ghost you until you collapse. Another. Imagine cutting your daughter off in college over hurt feelings. Couldn't be me. She didn't tag me, but she wanted me to see it. She wanted pity. From her friends. From strangers. From herself. But I didn't bite. Because I knew what she was doing. I had lived long enough in the house of manipulation to recognize the furniture. Then she did the one thing I never expected. She called my sister. And cried. Not performatively. Not online. But real sobbing. The kind that forces an audience to lean in. He's gone cold, she said. Like I don't even exist. And my sister, God bless her, asked the only question that mattered. Why do you think he did that? Emma didn't answer. Just cried harder. My sister told me later. She's scared. Not just because the money's gone. Because you meant it. I nodded. Good. In the second week, she tried apologizing. The email subject was, maybe we both said things. Inside were phrases I'd read 100 times over the years. I didn't mean it like that. You're taking it too seriously. You're blowing everything out of proportion. Not one actual apology. Just deflection. Damage control. She missed the support, not the man. And that's what told me. She still didn't get it. The fallout wasn't nuclear. It was systemic. Like a company going bankrupt, one department at a time. Her social safety net shrank. Friends who offered rides or phone hotspots got tired. The "can I crash here tonight?" Texts wore out their welcome. Professors started emailing about missed assignments. The school billing department sent another notice, tuition past due. She forwarded it to me. No subject. No message. Just the PDF. I replied with the one sentence I'd memorized. I don't participate in situations where I'm disrespected. That was my mantra now. It wasn't about her. It was about me. About refusing to be the emotional ATM that funds someone else's indifference. I heard through a cousin that Emma had started working weekends at a bookstore downtown. Cash under the table, long hours, poor pay. She hated it. But she did it. And for the first time, she started posting differently. No more passive-aggressive quotes. No more half-jokes about narcissists and toxic men. Just tired selfies. Just silence. It was working. Not to punish her, but to make her meet herself, the version of her that lived without scaffolding. The version that had to reconcile a life where comfort wasn't guaranteed. Claire called again, not angry this time. Worried. Tentative. She's struggling. I just thought you'd want to know. I said nothing. She doesn't ask me for help. I think she's ashamed. She should be, I said. You don't mean that. I do. Because shame is the beginning of reflection. And reflection is the beginning of change. By the end of the month, Emma texted again. I know I messed up. I took you for granted. I'm sorry. It was the first time she'd said it. Truly said it. No spin. No qualifiers. Just those words. And even then I didn't reply. Not because I didn't feel something, but because she needed to sit with what she'd broken. Not just me, but the version of me that would have forgiven her instantly. People talk about tough love, like it's a tool you pull out when things go wrong. But they don't tell you that it hurts both ways. I didn't enjoy watching her flail, didn't take joy in her struggle. But I did take pride in finally drawing a line. Because fatherhood without boundaries isn't love. The servitude. Time didn't heal anything. It only clarified. 3 months passed before Emma and I saw each other again. Not by design. Not through invitation. It was incidental, a family event, one of those sterile suburban reunions where old people eat cake and pretend they're not dying. I walked in late. I always do now. Her back was to me at first. Hair longer. Thinner. She had dropped weight, but not in a healthy way. Stress, probably. Or work. I didn't ask. She saw me eventually, froze mid-sentence and said nothing. That used to bother me. Not anymore. I walked past her and greeted other relatives. Shook hands. Kissed cheeks. Pretended the last few months hadn't sharpened every edge of me. Everyone acted normal, too normal. The kind of performance people put on when they've read the posts but don't want to take sides. Emma hovered near the coffee table. I saw her eyeing me more than once, cautious like I might blow up or make a scene. She didn't know I had nothing left to throw. Later, I stepped outside for air. It was getting dark. The air felt thick, damp with oncoming rain. I lit a cigarette. I hadn't smoked in years. Kept one in my glove box for days like this. That's when I heard the door open behind me. Footsteps. Then her voice, small, flat. "You look tired." I exhaled smoke and didn't look at her. "I am." She waited. I didn't offer more. I wanted to talk. Still no eye contact. "I know I hurt you." That hung in the air for a while. I could have crushed her with a sentence. Could have brought up every transfer, every late-night panic call, every post where she framed me as the villain while spending the money I bled for. But I didn't. "I know," I said. She turned slightly. I didn't mean it like I said it. I was being stupid, immature. I thought I was funny. "You were," I said. "Just not in the way you thought." That stung. I saw it land. She blinked and turned her face away. "Good. I'm not asking you to start paying again," she said. I miss you." That line might have worked once. But it wasn't a key anymore. The locks had changed. I looked at her then, really looked. She wasn't crying. Not this time. No mascara streaks. No practiced trembling lip. Just a girl who had finally been forced to meet herself. And didn't like what she saw. "You missed the version of me that didn't have limits," I said. She swallowed. Didn't deny it. "You taught me that love was a faucet," I continued. "You turned it when you needed it. You shut it off when I asked for respect. You made me into a vending machine, Emma. And now you're asking where the coins go." She looked down at her shoes. "I'm trying." I flicked ash off the cigarette. "Trying means you understand what you did. Do you?" A pause. "I took you for granted. You used me. I didn't mean to. You did it anyway." Another silence. Long, heavy. "So what now?" she asked. I shrugged. "That's up to you. I'm not applying for the job again." She blinked. "What job?" "Fatherhood." I was doing it alone. Carrying the weight. Carrying the cost. Carrying the insult. I worked years for a seat at a table you didn't want me at. Now that the food's gone, you're pulling out a chair. That's not fair. I turned toward her. My eyes didn't flinch. Neither was how you treated me. She looked away again. The porch light flickered. I guess I deserved this. I shook my head. You don't get punished. You get responsibility. That's all. The thing I shielded you from for years. The thing I took on so you could pretend adulthood was just an idea. I crushed the cigarette under my shoe. Now you get to earn things. The way I did. Slowly. Without applause. She nodded once. Hands stuffed in her coat pockets. Can we talk again sometime? I looked at her. When you've lived the kind of life that forces you to respect the people who don't owe you anything, yes. Until then, I'm not your wallet. And I'm not your villain. I'm just done. I walked past her and back inside. She stayed out there a while. I didn't look back. The truth is, things never went back. We spoke eventually. Shallow calls. Emails here and there. Polite. But the depth was gone. That kind of betrayal leaves residue. And once love becomes conditional on obedience, on convenience, on cash, it's no longer love. It's leverage. I stopped being leverage. Claire never apologized. She still plays the peacemaker, the let's just move forward role. But I see it now, her silence wasn't passive. It was complicit. She let Emma treat me like an optional character in their drama, as long as the money kept showing up on time. I was always the supporting act, the utility. But now I'm no one's safety net. Emma is working, really working. No more co-signed apartments. No more meal stipends. Her Instagram looks different, filtered less. There are pictures of food she cooked herself, selfies from shifts, posts about budgeting. She's living in the world she denied existed. That's the real education. Better than anything I paid for. I think about her sometimes. I think about the girl who used to fall asleep in the backseat of my car during long drives. The one who asked me to read Coraline for the 10th time just because she liked how I did the voices. The one who held my hand after the custody hearing and whispered, "I'm still yours. That girl is gone." And maybe she always was. Maybe the version of her I held onto was a story I told myself to justify the sacrifice, to make the bleeding feel like purpose. But that's the problem with fantasy. It can't survive contact with real life. People say that parenthood is unconditional. They're wrong. It should be respectful, mutual, based on something deeper than blood or obligation, something earned. Because if you give endlessly and get nothing but laughter in return, what you're doing isn't parenting. It's martyrdom, and martyrdom never raises strong children. It just feeds hungry ones. Now I live smaller. No more surprise bills. No more late-night calls. No more waiting for a message that means something. I cook for one. I plan trips I actually take. I keep a line open, not a door. She can reach me when she's ready. But I won't build another bridge for her to burn. Sometimes, when the house is quiet, I ask myself, was I too harsh? Should I have absorbed more? Should I have bent one last time, just to keep the peace? But then I remember the sentence. The one she said like it was nothing. Relax. It's not abuse if you're used to it. And I realize she wasn't describing her pain. She was describing mine, and laughing at it. So I ask you, was I wrong to walk away from that? Was I cruel to demand more than silence, more than tolerance, more than financial obedience dressed as love? Or did I finally do the thing every parent has to do? The hardest thing, let go of the child who won't come back until they're ready to come back, right? You tell me, what would you have done?